Hey again, everybody. This is Stephanie at Hightower Stitching. I'm back with part 2 of making the placemat, the hand stitching a placemat. First thing I want to do is, it's so funny, as I was sitting there working on mine, I said, oh, I forgot to tell them this. I forgot to tell them that. So I'm going to start with a couple of little notes. And one of them is that when you're getting ready to do your material, and you're going to trace around your boxes. If your material is kind of a loose weave, not real loose, but it's kind of loose, and you want to trace it and it wants to move on you, find a piece of sandpaper and keep it around, because anytime you're doing some of this stuff, it's great because it'll hold it in place, and then you can go around it with the mechanical pencil. That was one thing. The other thing was, when I got the pieces laid out on the board, on the cardboard, I don't know if you noticed, but I had taken pins, and every one of the patches I had pinned down, because you never can tell when the wind's going to blow. You're never going to tell when you got extra little hands. Never can tell when the dog's going to hit the table. And then you're going to have to take and redo it, unless you've taken a picture with a camera to see that you really liked it. And then you could put it back together. Then the third thing was, I didn't make much of if the front and the back don't match, because it doesn't happen very often, but it happened on that time, and it didn't make a big difference. But all you have to do is lay the two together and hold them up to the light, and you can see how close they are. Now, if they're not as close as you want them to be, you just take and you turn one of the two again, and then hold it up and then see there. And the other thing is, you can start, for this part, you can start all the way at the edge with your knot and go across to the other edge. Okay? I think I about got it caught up. All right. And then the last thing was, I sort of really went too fast over that, pressing and ironing. Ironing is like when you're ironing your shirts, and pressing is when you have a special seam and you just put the iron down on the seam and then pick it up instead of pushing it over there, because we know that material has got two weaves. It's got the straight weave, and then it's got the bias weave. And that's one of the nice things about using your scrap material, or just any material, because when you make your squares, you don't know when you put them together if you got the straight or the bias, and it doesn't matter. Well, then that makes a difference when we get to the part that I did last before I left, okay? And I went and I worked on my rows, and a couple of things here that I already know from experience, what might be nice for you to know. And one of those is, this was going to be the top left corner right here. So I put 1L, and then I put the second one. And it's kind of funny because when I didn't have this one on there, and I grabbed this strip before it was sewn on. And I had to look at it and say, okay, now which end is the right one, the green one or the other green one? And then turned it around. So lots of times it's really helpful if you take a number at the one side as you're going down. So I've got it all put together. Now, I'm one of those people that opens the seams. And you're going to find out that it doesn't matter. Everybody has different opinions. And if you don't open the seams and you fold them to one side, you learn how to lock them so the next row locks with it. But then just remember that that adds to your bulk. And if you're going to be hand stitching, that might be, if your material's bulky, something that you don't want to run through with your needle. So you would open the seams. And what I did was I'd open the seams and I pressed them. And then I started putting my rows together. And I want to show you the way that I've been lucky with putting rows together. All right, I have where my two seams are, and they're open. And I lay them on top of each other. And then I take my stick pin, and I go in there, and I put them at an angle. For some reason, this seems to have worked really well with getting a lot of them to stay in place. And then I went across and I set each one just like that. Now, don't worry if one edge is longer than the other out on the here, because when you get done, you're going to be able to trim off those edges before you put, or after you put your backing on it. And so I went all the way over there. Now, I'm right in the middle. I had started over there on the side, and you can see my stitches, and because I use black, you can see them pretty well. And when I turn it over, you can see that I've got them, and they're not staying on the line on the back, but they are on the front line, and that's making that 2-inch block. All right, so what I wanted to do was just start right here, and I'm going to grab the thimble because it's kind of hard to stand up and do this. All right, and there again, and if you want to make sure it's secure, you've got your knot, but you can run the thread back through there one time. Pull that off because I don't need it now. And then I'm ready to run over there, and I can actually gather this in my hand a little bit, and it's really nice when you're sitting down and you can prop on the table, and then you start going down, and I can feel it touching the back of my finger, if you'll remember that, so that you can tell that it's gone all the way through. And if you get to where it is sort of like gathering, if you get to this place where you've got your seams and you want to make sure they're secure, although I've got my thread doubled, so this would make pretty good. And you decide how strong your thread is, and then decide if you can use single layer or two and just double it. And this one I'm just going to take and go back again, and I'm going to go back there. I'm pushing through there, and that's what I was talking about, having bulk, and that's just the two sides together. All right, be back in just a minute. Now I'm going to jump ahead. I wasn't sure how long of a pause I had on that, and I'm going to pick out a kind of material that I want to be on the back, and it needs to be pressed better than this. I pressed it once, it wasn't quite enough, but that's going to be my back color. And then we're making our sandwich. I put in a piece of batting. There are a lot of nice battings out there. It's amazing how many. And this is just a piece of scrap that I had from Warm and Natural. And I had a roll I was going to bring in here, but polyester that you can buy. And it's either thin or very thick, depending on what you want to do. So this suits on this one. So I've got those two pieces together. And the last part of my sandwich is to put this one. Now I need to press this, and I didn't finish pinning it because I thought I might run out of time. So this is laying on there very nice and smooth. And then the next step is to pin it or baste it. I used to baste, and you should have seen me basting on the floor a quilt. It was a hoot, but with thread and a needle. But now this is laying pretty nice, and I had stick pins, but I never use stick pins. I use quilting pins because they have a little curve, and they don't come out and they don't poke you, and they'll stay there. So the next step would be, after you've got it nice and ironed and smoothed out on both of those layers, then you come in and you put your pins in, or your stick pin if you want to, and you pin it in a few places. Usually they say about a fist apart is a good distance to do that. So we've got our sandwich made. We've got it all nice and ironed, the sandwich made, and it's pinned so it shouldn't move. And I thought, what would be a neat way to do your very first one to get an idea how it works? And here's an idea. Yeah, you may be way ahead of this, but some people may not. There's quilting threads that you can buy that are really, really good. And when you feel of them, they're not going to break. And you can buy them at any of the stores and online, quilting thread, hand quilting. But then the other thing lately I've been seeing is where they use large running stitches. And I thought, that's a great way to start on a project. So I pulled out some of my embroidery thread that came on a roll. I sort of have liked this. You can't split it, I don't think, but you can use it just like it is. So I pulled out an embroidery needle, where you would be using a quilting needle regularly when you're getting ready to quilt. But I thought, well, this is a new project. So I'm going to take and get you where you can see. And you're going to do this without a hoop. So you're going to want to keep it flat. And I'm going to go underneath. I've got a knot. There goes the knot, and the knot's going to go under. When you start hand quilting, if you're in the middle, you have a knot, and when you go through, you gently pull it so that it goes into the inside of the sandwich. And so I think this is the way I'm going to finish this one when I get it pressed right. And I'm going to put my hand under there because my needle's going to go straight down and then straight out that direction. And I'm going to do a running stitch. Now, I'm not used to this needle or this thread. Let's see if I can't get two on there right now. You can draw a light line on there if you want to. But if you look where you want to go and you aim for it, it's really neat. These, you may not be able to see it. I have to jump over to the pink. But anyway, you do just a running stitch. And you may have seen that. I saw it on a pillow the other day that makes it look old. And you get where you like the way your stitches are going to go. And there you're making it. And like on there, you don't even see it on that particular piece. So let's see if, and what I would do is just go straight across there and stop and then thread up, because I'm right-handed, come back down here to this pink one and start and go all the way up through there. So that's an idea that you might like. And this is a embroidery needle that's pretty thick, and there are some out there that are thin, and that would be a nice thing to use. And once you get it all done the way you want it, then you're going to trim off the outside and put on binding. And there are some very good videos out there on putting on the binding. And at that stage, you might want to put it on with your sewing machine, or do it by hand, because on all my first quilts, when all of them were going to be hand quilted, then I hand quilted that the binding on the outside edge of all of those quilts, and that's restful once you get it all pinned together. This is Stephanie at Hightower Stitching. I hope that gives you an idea for a way to start. I know it was kind of fast, but once you start doing it and you go through the steps, you find out how restful it is. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this, please hit subscribe and like. It doesn't cost you anything. And leave comments. And any of the information that I think you might need, I'll write in the description. Thank you for watching.